Thank you for being here. I'm very pleased to participate in this conference that commemorates the 17th anniversary of the founding of RISM. My name is Edgar Alejandro Calderón Alcántar. The title of my presentation is The Ancient Conformation of an 18th-century New Spain Music Archive, a methodological perspective of musical documentation. Historical archives in general, and more specifically, music documentary collections, represents invaluable heritage treasures that, through their study, cataloging, editing, interpretation, and dissemination, allow the constructions of our past, in some way our artistic present. Due to this collection of historical music papers have been the subject of interest from different disciplinary fields, from archival science, history, musicology, philology, etc. Evidently, each archive shows through its repertoire an idea of the type of musical activity that took place in the institution that collected it. Likewise, the organization, inventory, and cataloging criteria also reflect the disciplinary profile of its catalogers at the time of carrying out. The fundamental purpose of this presentation is to try to reconstruct the ancient organization of musical archive of the Colegio de Santa Rosa de Santa María de Valladolid, with the aim of understanding its repertoire, its context and function, its performers, its musical instruments, etc., in a broader way. Two reasons stimulate me to try this reconstruction of old organization of this musical fund. First, my doctoral thesis project on the study and critical edition of the villancicos preserved in this collection, and the collaborative and interdisciplinary project of cataloging and editing the poetic musical sources in Spanish that Anastasia Krutitskaya and I coordinate. It should be noted that this reconstruction attempt is still in process. However, it throws new perspective on the current stage of research of this documentary collection. In 1939, Mexican composer and musicologist Miguel Bernal Jiménez published a monographic work titled Morelia Colonial, el archivo del Colegio de Santa Rosa de Santa María de Valladolid. This work contains the first systematic catalog of any archive in Mexico, as said American musicologist Robert Stevenson in 1970. As we can note, Bernal Jiménez catalog anticipates with 13 years RISM foundation. Focusing on the musicological facet of Bernal and his pioneering work as a musical sources documentalist, it is necessary to describe in broad strokes his catalog. He organized the inventory into three main items: complete religious work, incomplete religious work, secular works. Each section is displayed in 5 fields: author, date, specifications, title, special indication. In these days, Bernal criteria of cataloging are more like an inventory than a systematic catalog. However, its work set an important beginning for Mexican musicological documentation. Bernal Jiménez performed several concerts with works from this archive, in addition to projecting the edition of an anthology, but his sudden death caused the innovative and ambitious research, edition and rehabilitation of this repertoire to be abruptly interrupted, which shows that he had a vision and initiatives that were not easy to supply. It was not until 2001, with emergence of the chairs of musicology at Las Rosas Conservatory, that the ordering, inventory, and cleaning work was reactive. Finally, the complete digitalization of musical treasure was carried out, which provided the necessary conditions to start the research work. Between 2003 and 2007, this archive was completely reinvented with a musicological vision. It is currently preserved this way. The most important criterion is the alphabetical order by last name of the author, then the alphabetical organization of literary incipit of the title of the work would come into question. As can be seen on this slide, the most significant fields of the inventory that was systematized in a database records field for folder number, name of the composer, title, description, the status of the integrity of the document, and finally the year of copy. Now, let's go to the current stage of work on this document found. In other words, the cataloging, study, and edition project of the repertoire of poetic musical sources in Spanish from the Las Rosas Music Archive. This is governed by the criteria of the RISM. Therefore, the archive already has an international sigla, MEX-MO-CR. It's well known that the complexity of the RISM cataloging records allow for a deep documentary description and analysis, in addition to having the advantage of being a conventional model. It should be noted that among our cataloging decisions we have registered musical entries or incipit for each exciting vocal or instrumental part and for each section of the musical work, which allows a greater range of identification of anonymous works as well as concordance or contrafacts with works from other archives in the world. Until now, the most conclusive aspect as a guide to understand how the musical archive of the Colegio de Santa Rosa was organized in its years of activity is represented by the old signature that is made of the letter L that means legajo or file. On the slide you can see that this word corresponds to legajo 6. Then comes a subdivision referring to the number of the work inside each legajo. In this case, it's 29. And finally, the letters ES refer to the continuous number of an expediente or work record in whole archive. In this case, the number 144. During the process of reorganizing the archive, this number was very useful for the reintegration of several words that were separated. This slide shows the general organization of the currently inventory of this archive. The main criterion is the name of the composer, but the disadvantage is that the archive has more than 250 works in total. Of these, only 79 have the name of an identified composer. It is evident that for our team of musicology students, the most important thing was the author of the compositions. That in the bulk of this documentary collection, the name of the composers don't turn out to be entirely relevant. Furthermore, Miguel Bernard's catalog had no apparent organization beyond grouping them by complete and incomplete religious work and secular works. Following the old signatures reveals that Legajo I was for cantatas and arias, an absolutely logical repertoire for a female colegio. All these works are for tiple or soprano. The festivities that were included are the most significant for the school. Contrary to the criterion of organizing alphabetically by author's name, several Spaniards and some locals appear in the inventory. Legajo I hardly reveals any composer's name. This probably means that the compositions were prepared by chapel misters, perhaps Juana de Castro, or by the vice teacher, and being internal music. For this reason, you will not need to label the name of the composer in the manuscript. The dates of the copy are also consistent with the time of the flourishing of the Escoleta of Colegio de Santa Rosa. The cantada for solo voice, for tiple or soprano with violins and basso continuo is dedicated to Santa Rosa. Copied in 1769, it says that belongs to Colegio de Santa Rosa of this city, Valladolid. Old signature is Legajo I, number 4. The case of File 2 or Legajo II corresponds to genres of stage music such as autos sacramentales, coloquios, loas, tercetos, etc. The documentation of college expenses receipts reveals that El Colegio de Santa Rosa invested in purchase of outfits and costumes for performance of colloquiums, autos sacramentales, etc. This legajo is very important for the colegio, and almost no names of music composers appears. This information contained on the folder 205, titled Para festejar de coloquios, helps to understand the continuous order in the number of expedientes or works recorded in whole archive. Finally, this slide shows a summary of legajos and their content in this archive. The systematic management of the old signatures gives us an idea of the importance of the festivities and liturgical functions of the Colegio, as well as the most significant musical genres. The music sung in Spanish is organized by legajos, while the masses are not, because the masses are always a fixed liturgical officio. However, they follow the general sequence of the file number or letter ES. I believe that this criterion is naturally the most coherent for this archive, its interpreters, and its liturgical activities. Thank you very much for your attention.